7 o'clock. It's time to get things started. Thank you for joining our third session out of 4 of our little mini yoga's meditation series. My name is Erica. I have been working with Miss Sarah and Miss Averill for about 3.5 years now. That doesn't seem that long, but it's been a while, right? It flies. I have been co-leading for about a year now, so I still feel very new at this, but I'm very honored that those beautiful ladies had enough confidence in me to pull this off. So without further ado, let's just get started with what we came here to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do 3 rounds of ohms. And, they say that ohm is that vibrational frequency from which everything comes, right? And so when we get into our ohms, we're essentially recalibrating to that baseline energy, if that makes sense. So what we'll do is we'll do 3 rounds, and then after the 3rd round, just go ahead and rest in it for a couple of seconds. Take a deep breath in. That is beautiful. And it's way more beautiful, too, when we're all grouped together, because then you can really feel the connection. So if you've been with us for the last couple of times, you know that we start with our stretching, and then after we go through our meditation process, we will have a little discussion after that, and we'll wrap it up by 8:15. Sound good? All right, well, let's everybody stand up. It's very, very simple. No spraining anything tonight. And we're going to do some hip circles. So just go ahead. The first night of this, Averill talked about getting our bodies prepared for meditation. And so that is what we're doing now. We've had a long day, probably, and time to work out some kinks so that we can settle in. And then reverse directions. It's really important. This is another reason I believe that we do this, is we need to connect with our body. So we're not just throwing our hips around. We are purposefully doing our hip circles. And we're connecting. A lot of us think we know our bodies pretty well, but then, you try to do a postural yoga practice, and then you find out very quickly that you might not know it as well as you thought you did. Then we're going to go for our goalposts. Yes? And so just go ahead and keep those hips straight ahead. We're just turning the torso. You feel a nice stretch there in your side. It's also a good time. Last week, Sarah talked about our breath. And so this is a good time to start connecting with that as well. So you might want to inhale on the out and exhale coming back to center. Sometimes it helps to connect if you close your eyes. All right, and then the next thing we'll do is we'll turn some doorknobs. Nice, get full turns as far as you can turn it forward and back. That way you get the stretch all the way from the fingertips up through the shoulders. Don't forget to breathe. It's very important. did forget the overhead stretch. We'll do that next. Or the side bends is what I meant. So gentle side bends. If you need to get an extra stretch, you can put that arm up there. Otherwise, you can keep them right down to your sides. Let's do some shoulder rolls. Nice, big, exaggerated shoulder rolls. This is where I hear all my everything popping. Again, with the breath, you can breathe in, coming up, and breathe out on the down. All right, then we'll do our neck. We'll start with our chicken neck, so it's sticking out back. And then you can do an exaggerated no, side to side. Use your breath here too. All right. And then exaggerated up and down. And then laterally, ear to shoulder. If you need a little extra, you can put your hand on your head. Make sure you breathe here too. All right, and then we'll do an overhead stretch. So you have your hands clasped together. Nice soft knees. Stretch tall. Give it a wiggle. And then try, like I was saying, we want to make connections with our body. Try to cross your thumb, your other thumb over the top. All right, you feel a little looser now? Good, good. All right, we'll go ahead and have a seat. Get super comfortable. But you also want to be sitting at an attentive position. You don't want to fall asleep. You want to be fully present in your experience. So tall and well. Go ahead and close your eyes if you haven't yet. Settle in. Now become aware of the body and the ability to move the body, but that you're choosing to not use that ability at this time. Be aware of sounds, but have an attitude that no sound can disturb you. There is no noise, there is no music, it's just sound. Take a moment to notice where your thoughts are. Maybe you're thinking about how your day went or planning the future. Perhaps you're judging your experience right now. Whatever it is, just be a gentle observer of these thoughts. Take a moment. Where is your mind right now? Notice the impermanence, how quickly one thought moves to the next. Let go of resistance or judgment and acknowledge your thoughts and let them go as easily as they came. As we move through the body scan, using only your awareness, explore the body as if you were an interior researcher. It's your body. You have full access to it. Really explore it. Experience it as if it were for the very first time. We'll begin our body scan at the top of the head. Be open to whatever experience manifests in that space. You may experience gross bodies, such as skin and bone or muscle. You may experience a feeling of awareness. You may feel subtle vibrations or changes in temperature, darkness or light. Perhaps you see the space, as if looking down on it or out through it. Perhaps you see nothing at all. However you're experiencing it in this moment is perfect for you. Now, how does it feel to be the top of your head? And as we move down the body, remember your three-dimensionality. Move down to the forehead, the eyebrows, temples, eyes. Feel your eyes resting in their sockets. The cheekbones, the back of the skull, the sinuses, your ears, inner and outer. Your awareness slide down the bridge of your nose, your mouth, your teeth, tongue, roof of the mouth, floor of the mouth, chin and the jaw. Let your awareness flow down to the neck and the throat, inside and out, skin, muscle. Your awareness now slides down to the shoulders. Moving to your upper arms, your elbows, front and back, your forearms. Feel your awareness slide down to the wrists and the hands, fingers, the tips of the fingers. Feel all of your awareness alive in the tips of your fingers. And on your own, take a moment to retrace your steps from the tips of your fingers back to your shoulders. We'll meet there. Once you've returned to the shoulders, now explore your entire back. It's a large space. What do you experience? Perhaps moving up and down or across. Now move your awareness through to the chest and go deep in that space. Perhaps you feel the beating of your heart, the filling of the lungs. Moving from your chest now to the lower abdomen, or the navel and the lower abdomen. Feel the body resting in the pelvic bowl. Let your awareness slide to the hips, thighs, front and back, your knees, sliding to your shins and your calves, ankles, feet, bottoms of the feet, your toes. Feel your awareness in the tips of your toes. And again, practicing on your own, move from the tips of the toes back to the hips. And once you get to the hips, move back into the abdomen. Ascending to the navel. Your awareness now back in your chest. Feel your awareness move to your back. Back to the shoulders. Again, feel it slide down the cylinders of your upper arms and elbows, forearms and wrists, hands, fingers, fingertips. And then retrace back to the shoulders, moving to your wrists, forearms, elbows, upper arms, shoulders, neck and throat, jaw, chin, mouth, nose, cheekbones, eyes, forehead, returning to the top of the head. Now take a moment and feel the body as a whole, humming in harmony. Feel every breath, every muscle, every fiber steeped in stillness. Now take a moment to feel your breath as it enters and leaves the body. Just simply notice your breath at this time. There's no need to control it just yet. Notice where in the body you feel the sensations of breathing. The rise and fall of the chest, lungs filling and releasing automatically. And then with each breath, feel all the tension melt away. Any tension you may feel in the eyes, shoulders, back, let it all melt away with the breath. And turn your attention to the breath cycle itself. Feel the flow of the air over your upper lip, across the tip of your nose. See if you can sustain focus on an entire breath cycle, in and out. Notice the slight pause as the breath rounds the corner from the inhale to the exhale. You may be feeling restless or sleepy, or impatient or uncomfortable, and that's okay. Just notice these sensations without judgment and release them and come back to the breath cycle. Embrace this time to just be. As we begin diaphragmatic breathing, become aware of the upper abdomen, specifically the place between the rib cage and the stomach, about the size of the palm of the hand. Feel how it rises and falls with each breath. Now, as you exhale, deliberately pull that space back, pushing out all the stale air, all the stale energy from the body. And then just simply release the abdominal muscles, and you'll inhale automatically, naturally. Pulling back to exhale deliberately, releasing to exhale or inhale automatically. The goal is to make the transition between the inhale and exhale as smooth and fluid and seamless as possible. Continue practicing for a couple minutes on your own. If you find yourself becoming distracted, just return to your diaphragmatic breathing practice. Smooth, seamless breaths. While maintaining your diaphragmatic breathing practice, become aware of the breath traveling along the energetic spine. And then exhale as if your breath were traveling from the top of the head to the base of the spine. And inhale as if the breath were traveling from the base of the spine back to the top of the head. Feel the energy of the breath traveling, inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Perhaps you can even stretch the breath beyond the base of the spine and beyond the top of the head. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Distractions will come. That's okay. Just return to your spinal breathing, inhaling up and exhaling down. Now bring your attention to the feeling of the breath at the nostrils. It was there all along, but we're attending to it now. Remain with that sensation for just a few moments. Now, as we begin our alternate nostril breathing, take a long, deep breath in through both nostrils, and then be aware of breathing through only the left nostril. As if it were breathing independently. Try not to move your eyes, only your awareness. And on the next exhale, breathe through the right nostril as if it were breathing independently. And then on your next exhale, we'll move for the second round in the left nostril. Notice if there are any blockages or restrictions. And on your next exhale, breathe again through the right nostril. Notice if there's any change in sensation between the right and the left. Just notice. And then one final round on your exhale through the left nostril. And finally, the last time through the right nostril. It's said that the balancing of the breath leads to deeper meditation. Notice if both nostrils feel clear. Maybe you need to spend a little time on one. If you need to do so, go ahead. If you feel pretty balanced, go ahead and return your attention to the breath at the tip of the nose, the bridge between the nostrils. And again, rest with that for a moment. As your thoughts begin to stray and pull you away from the moment, just gently turn yourself and your attention back to this space. If you've noticed you've become distracted, just pause and gently refocus over and over as many times as necessary. Embracing each time as a new beginning. Be again aware without engaging of any discomfort you may be feeling at this time. Let go of any resistance. And feel the bridge between the nostrils fully, completely. You are that space. And let the simple act consume your thoughts at this time. If you usually meditate in a different space, such as the center of the forehead or perhaps the center of the chest, you're welcome to do so at this time. Just choose one space. If you're newer to the practice, it's suggested that you remain in the space at the bridge between the nostrils. You cannot fail or do this incorrectly. That's why we call it practice. Now fall into your space as we go into the silence for the next 7 minutes. No need to worry about the time that's left. I'll bring you out of it and back to the room. Remain in your space. Remain aware of the silence at the center of consciousness. Remain aware of the relative quietness of the mind at this time. Remain aware of the smoothness of the breath, the stillness of the body. And when you're ready, gently open the eyes. Namaste. So how are we feeling? Good? It's beautiful stuff, right? It's a great place to be. I don't know if anyone needs to take a break or not. Or we can just dive right in. Yeah. All right, like I said earlier, Avril talked about the body the first week, and then Sarah came in and talked about the breath last week, and I'm here to talk about the mind. We'll go ahead and look at that chart if we could on the next slide. Yes. So this is essentially a person, right? And like I said, Avril spoke about the body, Sarah moved to the breath, and then I will speak of the mind. And then next week, maybe we'll answer that question. We'll also discuss Om. I meant to tell you that earlier when I was talking about it. But what I decided to talk about, I pulled from the Yoga Sutras, because that's kind of the theme we're going with here. The 5 different states of mind that we can be in. And the first one is the Koshipta, or the disturbed state of mind. And that's where the mind is really erratic and it's all over the place and it's very troubled and wandering. I kind of associate it to severe anxiety, perhaps. But it's not just that the mind's all over the place. You know, it's not just ADD. There's a very intense negative emotional connection to it. And it's very difficult, you can imagine, to even probably have meditation on your radar when you're in that kind of state. And I could also probably put maybe drug or alcohol addiction in the same category, you know, or in many, many other mental, you know, disorders or illnesses or whatnot that are, you know, untreated. And then the second state of mind is the mudda, or the dull state. So it's kind of moving from where the mind's all over the place, and now it's kind of exhausted itself. And it's dull, and it's stupefied, and it doesn't, you know, you don't feel like doing anything, you don't care about anything. But it doesn't necessarily have to mean clinical depression. You know, we all have days like that. At least I know I do sometimes. But it is in this state that there's kind of a silver lining, because after you've been through the crazy first, you know, erratic first state, at least now in the second state, you're calm enough to be able to, you know, be receptive to changing your thought patterns and your state of mind. And so then the third state of mind is the distracted state. And I would say that's pretty much kind of where most of us sit in. You can have focus, much like we just did, you know, for a little while, but now here we are, we're distracted again, you know. And so it says in here that many meditation students, you know, reported like being alert, but not being like agitated or you know, upset or anything, just alert and calm in their focus every now and then. But your mind goes here and there depending on where you are in your day or in your life, for that matter. And then once you're in that state of mind, you can move on to the next one, which would be the one-pointed state of mind. And that's kind of a reasonable goal, I guess, for meditation students. That's where it's one-pointed and focused and concentrated. And it's attained the ability to be one-pointed. So in that way, you can take on the task at hand. Your focus. I was trying to think of a good example, and this is kind of a silly one, but like let's say I'm baking a cake, right? I'm into this cake. I've got things going on. The oven's heating. Okay, I'm focused on this cake. Well, all of a sudden, wind kicks up, and now a branch has fallen across my backyard. Okay, if I'm in a one-pointed state of mind, I can not let that distract me because I can do that later, right? But if I'm distracted, I'll be like, what in the world was that? I'm running to the window to figure it out. So that's kind of the distinction there, that I can just settle and finish my cake. Now, of course, if my child falls down the stairs, I can obviously not just focus on my cake and attend to, what needs to be attended. So, yes, the one-pointed mind is fully present in the moment and able to attend to anything at will. And then the final one is the Niruddha, or the mastered mind. And, I would say probably few people are able to achieve that, but it is not unheard of. And so this one was kind of hard to define, and even everything I read on it they were like, this is hard to define, and so I'll do my best. But once you get into this state of mind, it has more to do with the process of coordinating and setting aside things that don't matter, and then actually, or that don't matter, but that aren't of true self, and finding that jewel of truth underneath all the other junk that's going on in your mind, and able to just go straight to that. And then there was something else I thought I wanted to say about that. Maybe not. But so yes, that is being fully realized in what is going on beneath, and not getting distracted by any of the other, internal distractions or external distractions. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I feel like sometimes I talk really fast when I get a little bit nervous. Am I making?
It seems like meditation, you go between.
Would you like the microphone? So.
Thank you. It seems like in meditation that you go between one pointed state of mind where you're following your breath to distracted state of mind where you're thinking about back to one state, back to one focus, back and forth, back and forth.
Absolutely. We're going to talk some more about that, actually, for sure. And then, like I said, you can fluctuate in between these states, too. Some days you have a bad day, and, meditation is not on your mind when that should be what is the first thing probably on your mind. But it's very important to know what state that you are in so that you know how to approach it. And I think it might have been Averill, I don't know if it was Sarah, it could have been Sarah, when they said, we might think, hey, we're up here at this level, we're ready to jump in here, but really today we should be back at level 1, and starting early, because it really depends on where our thoughts are at and our minds are, so to help us guide in which way we're going. It's like knowing where your mind is tells you how you need to get to where you're going. And then there are 4 stages of attention. So how do we maneuver through these states of mind? And then there's 4 stages of attention. And then the first one is just attention, okay? Attention can vary. It's all over the place. I'll be honest with you, sometimes in church, my attention goes to the plants, and then I have to bring back my focus to where I am really here, Yeah, plants. I like plants anyway. But attention is all over the place, and so it's good to notice where are you spending your attention. I thought of a silly little story that kind of goes along with this. When I first started meditating, and you're told you've got to be an observer of your behavior, right? And I remember driving down the road one day, and I reached over and I turned up the volume on the radio, and I was like, why did I do that? I don't particularly like this song. I could hear it just fine. And I was like, am I noticing something? And I started getting excited, right? And then my attention went elsewhere. I got distracted, right? And so, but then I noticed I did it again. And I was like, why did I do that? That's so strange. And then it occurred to me that I was trying to drown out my thoughts with the radio. And that's part of that, that unconscious mind poking through. Now I get to see some of it because I'm paying attention, right? And so anybody want to say anything about that? All right. Well, the second stage of attention is concentration. And so that's when you're focused on one object, obviously. So you want to pick your one object. But it says concentration may be interrupted, but temporary. And it's best to have a single object of meditation. That is always the final stage of your meditation practice. Again, something that Avra was talking about there being so many different ways, so many different practices, right? The breadth of it, she called, right? And this is where I get caught up and struggle with, because I'm still learning all this stuff. I'm like, this is all new, and I want to absorb it and learn all these things. And so I'm kind of staying in here, But when you pick the one thing, then you are able to just fall deeper and deeper and deeper into it. I think she made the analogy of a runner. If somebody does like the 100-yard dash and that's all they do, obviously they're going to be better at it than someone who's just, a jack of all trades, so to speak, right? And so that's why it's very important just to pick that one object, whether it be the breath, at the tip of your nose, or, pick your chakra, whatever it is, just pick your one thing and try to go with that. And I'm really talking to myself too on this one. Anybody else want to comment on that? And then also as far as fine-tuning our concentration, I think during our meditation practice, the body scan, you're focusing on your concentration flowing through the body, right? It's pretty, that's the beginning of it. And then our diaphragmatic breathing, now you're focusing on the breath. And so you're fine-tuning it even more. And then kind of like I shared last week, now you're not just breathing in and out, but now you're moving the awareness. So you're becoming better at it, like you're running that 100-yard dash over and over again, right? And then to alternate nostril breathing, and now you're balancing. So you're really fine-tuning, finding that awareness. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, and even brief concentration is a success. That's why I said that's why we call it practice. Some days you'll be able to fall right into it and have a beautiful meditation. And then other days, you might feel like, well, that was a waste of time. All I did was think about, planting plants or whatever it is. But still, there was at some point while you were sitting time, where you fell into it, even briefly. And that every time you do it, it becomes longer and longer and longer. And that is what leads us to the third stage of attention, which is meditation. So meditation is like the extended concentration. I just realized I use my hands a lot. The extended concentration on a particular object. So that's kind of what we did, in a small sense. Once you get the 7 minutes down, then the next thing you know, you can do Mike Marinelli's 30 minutes and sit and not have a problem. But newcomers aren't there quite yet, right? It's, sometimes 2 minutes is a really long time. But like I said, every little bit is beneficial. So. Yeah, so it does say that it's constant set of attention, and then a distraction will come, and then you'll have another, length of time that's concentration, and that is meditation. And then it says when the distraction does not happen, the continued concentration on the one object is called meditation. And so then where do we go from there? All right, now we've got it down. We can meditate for a length of time, right? I'm going through this really fast. Then the fourth stage is Samadhi, and that is where is really, really difficult to explain. It was really hard for me to understand while we were studying the Yoga Sutras, but I'm going to try my best. And so essentially, I'm going to try to come up with an example. So let's say I meditate with a stone, okay? So at first, my attention is on the stone. I'm concentrating on the stone, right? And now I've gotten to where, and so then I'm thinking about, okay, how am I feeling? The stone is smooth, the stone is heavy, the stone is light, or, what is the energy vibration, the vibrational frequency coming off the stone? And now you're starting to get more in tune with your object. And so you're starting to get little glimpses of that consciousness, right? Pure consciousness. And so if I'm meditating with my stone and now I'm fully engaged with it, I've become one with the stone, right? And so me, the stone, and my feelings about the stone, essentially, all just kind of collide and absorb into one. And then I just am part of the stone, right? Like I just am the stone. And then, but beyond that, now when you are the stone, you've used your one object, right? Or whatever it is. Now you've seen that little glimpse. And so then the final step is where now you're just absorbed in the awareness. You got the taste of it, at first, and now you're just absorbed in the awareness. And that is Samadhi. Did that make sense? That was really hard to explain. So, all right, somebody share with me, because, I was curious about the one, because I think everybody, like I said, there's such a wide breadth of different things that you can do. I'm just kind of curious what you guys do, if you dare to share.
What we do as a meditation practice?
Yes. What is your focus of meditation?
So I learned TM a lot of years ago. So it's a mantra-based practice, and so you just follow the mantra. So similarly, like we follow the breath here, you just follow a mantra. Your thoughts take you hither and whither. You notice I'm not following the mantra. You go back to the mantra, and it's just a continual practice that you return to your technique. So I think the technique, whether it's breathing or mantra-based or whatever it is, I think it's whatever technique you learn, it's just doing the technique. So that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think, sometimes I use Om too as the mantra, because that really helps settle me, an internal vibration of it. So yeah, absolutely.
So my focus of meditation is a blue star in the center of my chest. I Om on the star over and over. I've never become a blue star yet. But it allows me to really have that one single pointed center of concentration. And I can fall into a blue star, but I'm looking for Samadhi still.
That's beautiful.
Did somebody teach you that technique, or it just came to you?
It was taught to me, yeah. It works. I've tried other things, but I come back to what I learned first.
That's funny that you say that, because and I used a stone, but that was kind of what got me into the meditation, because I could feel the energy and I really wanted to feel the energy. So I wanted to meditate, to kind of make that connection. And I've kind of gotten away from that because I've learned all this other stuff, but I can definitely tell a difference, that I need to, go back to the first thing that worked, for sure.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Anybody else? All right. Oh, I should have brought my glasses. It got a little darker in here. So yeah, in summary, I'm going to close this thing up early if nobody has anything to say. You are pure consciousness, and so meditation is the tool to help break down the obstacles of the mind, essentially. You got to get your body right first, so that your mind's not thinking about what's going on with it. And then you've got to notice where you are in order to know how you need to go forward. And yeah, I felt like that was going to take a lot longer. I'm sorry. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, this is just kind of a question about technique, I suppose. When you're going through the initial awareness of the different parts of the body, are you supposed to, I mean, I understand the concept as far as, your back, your shoulders and everything. Are you just, when you're trying to focus awareness on that, is it just thinking about those parts of the body, or are you kind of like feeling the sensation that's present or maybe not present in that body part? Is there any advice you can give on that kind of technique? Because that was one part that, I definitely, once we got into the meditation and the focusing on the breath and, up through the head, I mean, I was absolutely 100% there on all that. But some of that, I just struggle, I guess, a little bit, or just maybe need some clarification on that part of the technique as far as focusing on the different body parts. Can you comment on that a little bit, maybe?
Sure. And
Thank
I think,
you.
yes, thank you so much. I think everybody experiences everything differently, so it's hard to, say, hey, do this, because that might not work for you. I know sometimes I will focus on the feeling, like I'll feel, is it tingly? Or sometimes even I'll feel like, I'll try to feel like I'm breathing from that space so that I'm connected to it.
Right, okay. So when you're so I guess that's the part that conceptually that I maybe struggling with a little bit, like breathing from your ankles, breathing from your feet.
For sure.
Like, just focus your awareness on it, basically, and just and that's basically, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand, to get my head wrapped around that concept, conceptually. And then, well, just as a comment, the way I first learned to meditate, or the technique, was from Thich Nhat Hanh, who recently just passed away. It was focusing on the breath, basically in, out, and after a while, you do that 10 times, you're just thinking in while you're breathing in, out, and that's kind of when the magic of, mindfulness kind of just comes out of nowhere. It's not like you have to seek it, it's there, you just tap into it, that sort of thing. But does that play any part, that sort of thing?
I think so.
Yeah.
As far as, I can understand how it might be hard to understand, like breathing out of an ankle. I totally understand that.
Right.
And then there are some days where I'm like, I just have to say the word ankle in my, because I'm so distracted that day, just to keep it. But I think that to me, it has a lot to do with, like I said, about connecting to the body. Being aware of my knee. If I'm going along in my day, I'm not paying attention. I don't think about my knee. I'm just using my legs, right? And so I think this is helping kind of bring us to bring our attention to the body, so that we can be like, okay, oh, there's my knee, let me relax it. Oh, there's my ankle, let me relax it. And so that we've got the connection to the body, because you have to, know what's going on with it in order to conquer that obstacle.
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What else we got?
I wanted to comment on a couple things that was just said. So, yes, the body, the intent is to pay attention to the body so that you can not have to pay attention to the body. And so any way that you can do it, that's the goal. So sometimes for me, I'm sitting in my chest and I'm feeling what it is to be in my chest. And sometimes the old movie, it's like you see the movie clip at the beginning, and it's like Orion and the stars circle around and they all come. Sometimes I'm imagining like the concentration of my awareness being like a circle of something at my knee. Sometimes that works. But the whole point is to just make sure that you're collecting all of your collective awareness to that space, and so that we can overcome it. Now, you also referred to mindfulness meditation with Thich Nhat Hanh. The breathing is a great way to meditate, right? Being awareness and being aware and mindful with the focus on the breath. But with this tradition, it's about the concentration. So there's always the mindfulness of breath, and mindfulness in general is a form of meditation, and it's very valuable. But this is more about getting to that single-pointed mind, that concentration with the mindfulness of the breathing being a part of it. That's how I kind of organize it in my mind to help me understand it better.
I like that. Thank you. I forgot I was going to say something. Now I forget. What else? Yes, please.
Okay, so it was really interesting that you didn't, each week, we weren't told the focus until after the practice. And for me, each week, whatever happened for me after you shared what the focus was, so I'll backtrack. The first night, I was able, Avril talked about, well, I think I had beginner's mind. And so she talked about being the conscious observer of the body. So I went in, with my eyes closed, sort of looking around inside the body, in the darkness, because I imagine that it's dark in there. But so looking around inside the body, and I had this awareness of myself as the observer, kind of to the left side, and I saw, that I had inflammation on the right side. Well, I have pain and inflammation on the right side, but I saw that as an observer, and I had this sort of conscious thought of that. And then she shared that, you notice there was a sort of body-focused meditation. And then last week we talked about, last week we didn't find out to the end that it was about the breath, but my attention shifted and I had a hard time trying to get back to what I had the first Wednesday, which was that body connection. And I recognized that I was having trouble when we were doing the alternate breathing. I recognized that I had a hard time breathing through on the right side. And then tonight, my mind would not be quiet. The first two nights, I had okay, this is pretty cool, especially the first night. I mean, my mind did not give me a hard time at all. I was able to really get in touch, really do my thing. And tonight, my mind was all over the place, that third place, the chatter, sort of going from place to place, not a stressed out kind of like the first stage that you talked about, but that third one, sort of the normal mind chatter that I find when I do meditation. And then when we were done, you said, this was about the mind. So I thought that was interesting. Each night, before knowing what it was about, I had this experience, of that particular focus. So I thought that was interesting, that without really knowing that was the focus, that was the experience that I was having. So.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm just a beginner too, right? I strive to maintain that beginner mind. So what I had learned when I started meditation, because I've had that experience where my mind won't shut up 1,000 times, and so what I've learned is what drives that, what drives those thoughts. It's stress, and why don't we just settle down to a perfect, state where we have no emotions, no thoughts, just awareness, because we live stressful lives, and stressful lives may just be driving, right? Because there's some element of stress, but we deal with our children, parents, blah, blah, blah. And I've had stressful days at work when I don't think I felt like I didn't meditate at all, but boy, I felt great when I came out after I finished it. And I've had other, like when I've gone on meditation retreats, where I just stayed, it was easy. I didn't have any thoughts at all, but I didn't feel like I got any work done. I was just calm all the time. So that's what I've learned to do, that the technique, whatever your technique is, kind of purifies the stress, and it's an ongoing process. Unfortunately, it never ends because we don't live up in the mountains of the Himalayas. We live here in Georgia, where it's a stressful life, right? So it's a constant purification process. That's what I learned.
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah. Yeah, oh, gosh, I keep forgetting what I was going to say. I need to start writing things down. Let's see. Single focus. It doesn't matter. If somebody has anything else to say, I might think of it meanwhile. Yes.
I like the idea of purification of the mind. I think everyone leads stressful lives, but I notice if I have a consistent practice every day, no matter how stressful my job is or my day is, or I notice a difference in my ability to not be reactive. And so I picture the meditation practice as a continual purification. It's like the antidote almost to the stress that we lead. So I think that has been the most profound impact to my personal well-being as a daily practice. Even if it's just a couple minutes on the cushion, I'm still doing it every morning, and it really has changed my life a lot.
Yeah, and I find it to be, and that was what I was thinking earlier. You know, it's basically classical condition. If you want to just take out the spirituality out of it and just has meditation as a brain retrain, it's just classical conditioning. You know, if you sit down and you do the same practice over and over again, then you're able to just tune into it. You know, I started thinking about when I was teaching preschool, and this isn't exactly the same, but you know, for nap time, I'd play the same song over and over again every day at nap time. And, you know, by the time I hit the button to play, half of them were already out, you know, so it's that, repetition that makes it really, count. So, but if nobody's got anything else, I think we're hitting up 8:15. We made it, guys. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing and allowing me to be part of this. And if you would like to join us on Saturday mornings, it's very early, of course, but that is when we get in there before the day can ruin us. Then we can get in there, and then we go take on the day. It's a very different experience. But the Zoom link is on the website, I believe. And come see us. We're in our jammies. We're comfy. In and out. And then also ways to give. You can text Unity North and give them, or visit their giving page. Or those of you that are here, there's a basket in the back if you found any value to this day at all. And thank you again for coming. Y'all have a wonderful evening.